Welcome, my little couch potatoes, to the comfiest courtroom on the internet. I'm your host, Llama, and it's time for dramatic testimony, overruled objections, and absolutely unqualified opinions. So grab your snuggiest blanket, some delicious snacks, and get ready to watch court with your internet besties. This is Couch Court with Llama. Hello, couch potatoes. Hello, good afternoon. Hope you're all doing great today. Sorry, my mic is a little wonky. Always something when we start these things, right? Well, you guys, I have been very busy since I left you yesterday to bring up and research what we're going to talk about today. So this is part 3 of our Couch Court case files, the Crystal Rogers case. And yesterday was a tough one. Part 2 was tough. Not only were we catching up with developments of the Crystal Rogers investigation, the Ballard family got quite a few blows. There was a Grandma Whitesides got to plead the fifth in court, and all of her stuff was sealed. Then there was the death of Tommy Ballard, who was murdered in front of his young grandson. And then we discussed the murder of police officer Jason Ellis from 2013. So it was a very emotional day. And what we noticed between Jason Ellis's murder in 2013 and that of Tommy Ballard in 2016 was how similar the two were. So today we're going to be doing more deep diving in that I'll get to in just a second. But before I do, let's say hello to our chatters. How are you guys? I miss you guys in the morning, by the way, but I have to focus hard in the morning. Ask everybody. They didn't even hear from me for like just a few minutes ago. Hello, 80s Music Man. Hope you're having a great Thursday. So happy to see you here. Hello, P. Lola's mom. I've missed you and chat as well. But we're here now. We're going to be here for a couple hours today. Not a super long stream, but still probably as long as yesterday. So we'll still have some time to spend together. Lady in Gray, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing great. Juju Bean, how you doing, babe? I hope you're doing well. Yes, there are lots of developments. Now, I just want to say, I don't know if I clarified this or not, but basically what we're doing with all of this is I'm telling this story in like the time frame from the beginning until now. Okay. I have literally read every single news article on Google, every single one since 2013. But I know a lot of details have come out between Steven Lawson's trial and the current trial right now going on with Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson. But we didn't find any of these details out till just this year. So I'm just trying to keep it a very cohesive story, chronological, if you will. So, and then we'll see what kind of truth comes out in the trials that I will be covering at the end of the series. So I just wanted to make that disclaimer in case somebody, was watching this later and is like, hey, by the way, this is this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but we're not even going to find that out for a few more years in our coverage. But the, sorry, my nose is itchy. The Brooks Houck, Joseph Lawson trial has started. I do know that YouTuber Lawyer Lee, who I'm a very big fan of, is in the courtroom covering this because it's not recorded. It's not audio, video, no electronics. So she is writing down notes every day. I followed her when she went to the Richard Allen trial, which was the same, no media streaming or any of that. And I know she plans on, she did an update last night, poor girl. She's having internet problems. Not surprised, but I know she'll be giving up updates. But if you want to wait till later, I will be covering the trial in its full form at the end of this series. But if you can't wait, I highly recommend you go subscribe to Lawyer Lee's channel. She's fantastic. And maybe her and I might be able to talk about this. I would love to hang out with Lawyer Lee. She seems just like so awesome. Oh, Juju Bean says, get it, Llama. Good job. No spoilers, I promise. Friends are updating me if I miss something as well as you. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's been very, I've been staying. There were some bombshells dropped. So, but you know what? Let's get back to the story, and we'll be getting to all the bombshells and the trial stuff, I promise. Okay. So today's episode is part 3. It's going to cover the years 2018 and 2019. Now, so far, as I said earlier, we have the disappearance and presumed murder of Crystal Rogers from 2015. In 2016, her father, November 19th, her father was shot and killed while hunting with his grandson, and that case has been unsolved. Then I covered the case of Jason Ellis, who was a Bardstown police officer who was murdered in 2013 in an ambush-style murder. Now, I will be keeping this is where the story gets a little complicated, because from here on out, you're going to be getting Crystal Rogers updates, Tommy Ballard updates, Jason Ellis updates, and what I'm about to share with you is another murder that happened that was unsolved, and we'll be doing their updates consecutively from here on out. So it's a lot, but I'm doing my best to try to make it all make sense. And then, chatters, I will do my best to engage with you, but it's a lot of reading again today. So I apologize if you don't see your messages up here. It is, it has nothing to do with that. I'm not the best at multitasking. So I just appreciate you all being here. Yes. Thank you, Juju Bean. You're such a good helper. Before I get started, please hit the like button so it lets everyone know we're live. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when we go live, because we got a lot of shows going on in this channel. More content than you probably know what to do with. Hello, sunny days. Hope you're doing well. All right, so let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to start with is a news clip. We have lots of news clips again today. I prefer to show those. So one, we can put faces to names, and we can hear different statements by different people. So we got a lot of news clips today to watch. And the first one takes place in March 2018. So March 21st, Sherry Ballard, Crystal's mother, and several others go to Frankfort, Kentucky, the state's capital, asking for help with cold cases. All right, okay, that's right. I'm doing the things. Okay, here we go. Let's see about the events on March 21st.
Kentucky families wanting answers in the cases of their missing or murdered loved ones are taking their search to Kentucky's capital. Sherry Ballard, whose daughter Crystal Rogers has been missing since 2015, and husband Tommy Ballard, who was murdered in November of 2016, is leading the charge in this. Our Shay McAllister is just back from Nelson County. Shay?
Doug, people have traveled from as far as Florida to be part of this caravan to Frankfort tomorrow. The hope is they will get the attention of lawmakers and get more resources in Nelson County to help solve the cases of their loved ones.
It may not bring my daughter back. It may not find my husband's killer, but it's put me in the right direction of trying to do that.
Sherry Ballard's search for clues in her family's cases has taken her to places she never planned, through rivers and fields, and now onto Frankfort, where she and 50 others will be confronting lawmakers, asking for awareness and additional resources to solve the cases of her missing daughter, Crystal Rogers, and the shooting death of her husband, Tommy Ballard, as well as other unsolved cases out of Nelson County.
Look at Bardstown. You know, we've had so many murders in the last several years, and
12,000 people.
You know, they're still looking for the killers. You know, like Jason Ellis, they haven't found his murderer yet. They haven't found who murdered that family. They haven't found who murdered my husband yet. My daughter's still missing. So I just think it's important to keep that awareness out there.
Sherry says she wants to see a cold case task force in Nelson County, though she still hates to admit her family's cases have gone cold.
I told KSP my mission this year is to find who did this to my husband and maybe find some kind of closure for my daughter. That's going to be my whole mission for this year, is to get out there and really push that. And I think going to Frankfort is a step in the right direction.
A step in the right direction, and the step that could bring Sherry Ballard closer to the closure she's still searching for.
Oh, I love
And that
her.
caravan is meeting in Bardstown tomorrow morning at 11:45. They have invited anyone to go along with them. The presentation at the Capitol starts at 2 p.m.
You know what I love about Sherry Ballard is that it's not about just her and her family for her. Like, she is trying to get justice for any other families as well. She is just, what an inspiring, beautiful woman she is. Okay, so that brings us to, I want to talk about the Netherlands murders. Okay, now this did happen in 2014, which is the year after Officer Jason Ellis's murder, and the year before Crystal Rogers goes missing. Now, some people believe this case is connected to Crystal and Jason and Tommy, but the vast majority don't believe that's the case. Now, the reason why I want to cover this story, especially, is because when I was researching this, the lack of articles about Kathy and Samantha Netherland comparatively to the articles for everyone else was very little to none. And that made me very sad because they seem fantastic. And I know that there's a lot going on in that town. But I particularly want to talk about it to raise more awareness on the murders of the Netherlands. And maybe somebody out there will know something by watching the show, maybe, and they might be able to help. So let's talk about the Netherlands. So Kathy Netherland was a 48-year-old woman who worked as a special education teacher at Bardstown Elementary for 7 years. Yes, how much of a saint is that woman? And that's what makes me so, it's what's so hard about covering all this, is that each person that's been murdered is truly just a wholesome, wonderful person. Jason, the Netherlands, Tommy, and Crystal. And it's just very frustrating. But anyway, so she had two daughters, Holly, a 20-year-old who was away at college, and 16-year-old Samantha, who was a student at Bardstown High School and still lived with her. And Kathy was an active and faithful member of the Parkway Baptist Church. Now, sadly, Kathy's husband, Bob, died from colon cancer not long before the murders. Yeah, another tragic family of just so much heartbreak. Samantha was very involved in school and choir, and she was described as a wonderful student, very energetic, very conscientious, and very academic. She had just found out around St. Patrick's Day that she had been accepted to the Gatton Academy at Western Kentucky. She was having the best high school years and experience there. So in April 21st, 2014, Kathy and her daughter Samantha are brutally murdered in their home on Springfield Road in the Botland community of Bardstown. Now, April 22nd, their bodies were found by Kathy's father in the morning after Kathy didn't show up for work. Kentucky State Police are now looking for anyone with surveillance video of the Botland community to help with the suspects. Quote, why is it Kathy and Samantha? Because they never hurt no one, never bothered no one, said Kathy's aunt, Barbara Donahue. They lived a very private life. I'm sure they didn't have enemies when you live in this church. Barbara said she believes the murders are random and that the suspect didn't know either of the victims. She had a real heart for those children, and those children had a real heart for her, said Bardstown City Schools Superintendent Brent Hosklaw. Hosklaw says with the death of not only a teacher, but a student, the district has been dealt a heavy blow. Oh gosh. The district brought in grief counselors with 2 outside organizations to supplement the support given by permanent school counselors. You always try and prepare for these types of things, said Hosklaw. You try and put these things together, think about what could happen, and prepare for the worst. But you never can prepare for this, he said. We're going to have them here as long as we need them here. As we begin to return to some normalcy, they'll probably be here less, but they'll be on call until the need goes away. Hospital says they started reaching out to staff and students shortly after the bodies were found. It took a very big, large toll on me when I first heard the news, said Ian Haywood. With his mother by his side, Ian said what he loved the most about Ms. Netherland was she was his teacher for 3 years. Quote, she was a very nice teacher, very patient, and most teachers could not handle me, but she complimented me and she took care of me at school, and she was very nice and very patient. I love her, said Ian. Ian's mother, Donna Haywood, said she also considered Kathy a friend. The families attended the same church, and her husband died from cancer recently, and she's been dealing with that, and she still goes strong with her teaching, said Donna. Barbara Donahue says she last saw Kathy and Samantha on Easter, which was, oh, something is playing noise. I don't know what that is, but okay. Hold on. Here, it's just me. It's fine. So the last time she saw Kathy and Samantha on Easter was only a few days before the murders. Samantha, she says, was preparing for her prom when her life was cut short. She was going to go to prom this weekend, had her dress, shoes, earring, and everything laid out to go. And now this has all come to an end. Oh, gosh. I just need to know. I need to shut this. Mute that. Sorry, that's very distracting, you guys. My apologies. So they say, please help us find who did it. We don't know nothing. We need to know who did this so we can stop it. The lead pastor at Kathy's church, Dr. James Carroll, issued a written statement. Quote, obviously, we are heartbroken by this tragedy, and we are concentrating on ministering to the family and many in our church family who are close to them. Kathy was a woman of sincere faith in Jesus Christ and selfless love for others. She worked tirelessly with children in our community in obedience to Jesus' command to serve the least of these. Oh, just look at the community, just reeling with this devastation. Juju Bean says, oh God, the teacher. I'm a retired teacher. Waited until you said it, Llama, and that murder truly terrified people. My great aunt lived near them. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. So on April 2nd, I think it was the next day, sorry. On both Kathy and Samantha's obituaries, in lieu of flowers, expressions of sympathy were requested to the Humane Society of Nelson County. This was a place where both mother and daughter enjoyed volunteering. They were both really great people, said Chuck Dickerson, Humane Society of Nelson County employee. They worked as a team. And the first time I worked with them, usually when volunteers come in, most of them want to sit around and play with the dogs and then take them out walking. But they were different. Dickerson says they weren't afraid to tackle the cleaning and help out in any way they could, even showing up to the shelter on snow days. And the Humane Society plans to put out a plaque to remember a mother and daughter gone too soon. On April 28th, Kathy and Samantha were laid to rest. And those are their headstones, which I think is just so beautiful. Samantha's having the music notes because of how much she loves singing. I'm going to try not to get emotional. It's so sad. Also on April 28th, the same day that they were laid to rest, the KSP announced that they believe the person or persons inside a black Chevrolet Impala, another one, that's between the year of 2006 and 2013 model, was seen traveling from the Botland community into Bardstown on April 21st and are responsible for the murders of Kathy and Samantha. Police said the Netherlands were murdered around 8 p.m. on the evening of Monday, April 21st. and that the Impala was spotted traveling northbound on US 150 from Botland into the Bardstown city limits that same night. Now, on June 25th, the death certificates of Kathy and Samantha were released. Kathy was shot multiple times, and Samantha was beaten in the head, stabbed, and both of them had cuts to their neck. The fact that they were killed so heinously makes KSP wonder if it was personal. KSP Trooper Jeff Gregory says they have several detectives working the case following leads. Police haven't ruled out any suspects as of now, but they are leaning towards the theory that multiple people may have been involved. Now, with that, I have another news clip for you. And so let me switch this over here. And let's take a listen to this one. Right up here? Okay.
Netherlands 3 months ago, a killer still walks free tonight. Hundreds of you watched the stream of this unfolding today on wave3.com and the Wave 3 News mobile app. Wave 3 News reporter Katie Bauer is live in Elizabethtown right now, where Kathy's sister, Samantha's aunt, spoke publicly for the first time. And Katie, what did she have to say?
Well, Scott, Stacy Hibbard is the sister to Kathy Netherland and the aunt to Samantha, and she wants the public to know what was taken from them. She spoke about the last time she talked and saw her niece and sister, and begged for anyone with even the slightest information to come forward to police. A picture on an easel of 16-year-old Samantha Netherland trying on her prom dress was the last text message Stacy Hibbard received from her sister.
This picture represents the last time that I saw Samantha alive. Kathy's text was the last time I talked to her. 2 days after Kathy and Samantha picked out her prom dress, they were dead.
Hibbard, Kathy Netherland's sister and aunt to Samantha, was one of the first family members on the scene after their bodies were discovered by another relative on April 22nd in their Nelson County home.
Samantha fought for her life, and whoever killed her showed her no mercy.
Hibbard says Samantha's body was left broken and battered, and said whoever killed her was only slightly less cruel to her mother. The mother and daughter were buried on the day that would have been Samantha's prom.
We buried Samantha in her prom dress. It seemed fitting that she should get to wear her pretty dress at least once.
Days after the murders, Kentucky State Police released surveillance pictures of a suspect's car, a black, newer Impala. To this day, they have not been able to find the car or its driver.
There's thousands of dark-colored Impalas in the DOT database just in the state of Kentucky, and we've checked hundreds and hundreds of them.
Family members can only hope that someone will come forward with that one tip that will lead to an arrest.
The reality is that a murderer walks free, possibly on the same streets as you.
And the family has set up a reward fund for information leading to an arrest. Right now it sits at $2,500. If you have any information that could help investigators, you are urged to give Kentucky State Police a call. Live in Hardin County, Katie Bauer, Wave 3 News.
Yes, as you hear, the reward is $2,500 at the time, which is fairly lower than some of the other numbers we've heard, but what are you going to do? So, September 7th, it's been more than 4 months since the death of Kathy and Samantha, and Kathy's sister, Stacy Hibbard, spoke out to the media. We just saw her. She had spoke previously a couple months ago. She says, "The last time I was here, there were police cars and police tape," Stacy said upon returning the house. She hasn't gone inside since the murders. "I pulled into the driveway, and my father is who found them. And, he was obviously in a lot of distress and said, they're gone, and somebody did something terrible to them." To be as just completely brutal as they were to Samantha, you can't imagine that somebody just said, "Oh, let's go do that," Hibbard said when asked if she believes the murders were random. You just couldn't imagine two more benign, decent, kind people who truly did nothing bad to anyone else. And Kathy and Samantha were not together when they passed. They were in different rooms, which would indicate to me that it seems like it was two people, but they both were tiny, tiny people, she said. Hibbert also says it appears nothing was taken from the home. As the investigation continues, family members want to make sure that Kathy and Samantha aren't forgotten. Quote, for Samantha, we've started a scholarship. Gosh, this is going to be hard. Okay. Let me drink my coffee. For Samantha, we've started a scholarship that will be a scholarship awarded to a Bardstown High School student who graduated each year to be a student who embodies a lot of the traits that Samantha did, Hibbert said. Knowing the type of person that Kathy was, she would have wanted something for her girls before she would have ever wanted something for herself. In my heart, I feel like it probably was somebody they opened the door to and had no idea that they were opening the door to something that was evil, brutal, vicious, and unkind. The complete opposite of them. Gosh, that's hard. On October 21st, it's been 6 months since the murders, and investigators don't want the cause of death released, but confirm these were violent murders. Quote, anytime somebody goes into a home and kills a mother and daughter, who really at this point we found no motive for the killing, you have to think there's some kind of personal rage, said KSP Trooper Jeff Gregory. The lack of motive has been a challenge solving the case. It has been difficult to identify the car, a black Chevy Impala captured on surveillance video driving away from the scene shortly after the murders. Police have still received thousands of tips, but nothing has come back yet. However, Trooper Gregory notes that based on the evidence and the investigation, it doesn't appear that they were randomly targeted. Yeah, that's... By the way, I'm getting a storm, so hopefully the power doesn't go. But if I disappear, that would be why. So then on October 23rd of the same year, 2014, the home where Kathy and Samantha were brutally murdered goes up for auction. In order to settle the estate of Kathy Netherland, the auction listing reads the 1,448 square foot home features 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a large kitchen. And then on November 1st, the Netherlands home was sold at the auction for $41,350. Okay, let's just take a break real quick and see what the chat is saying before I move on. Hello, Just Ian. Hope you're doing well. Lady in Gray says, why would anyone do that, especially in that way? Who benefits? Did they know or see something? Right? I mean, could you find 2 probably more innocent people for something like that? It seems very, very strange. Hello, Dope Meditations. Hello, I hope you're doing as well. Oh, Just Ian says he works at an animal shelter and it's so damn hot. I bet it's hot everywhere right now. Juju Bean says, yeah, I believe one was strapped to a chair. I am an Elizabethtown High School graduate. Video from Elizabethtown. Well, yeah. Dopes asks, wait, Kathy and Samantha's, it still has to do with the Rogers case. Some people believe it does. The vast majority does not. But often the Netherlands are talked about as well because it is an unsolved case. And doing all the research for everyone, I can tell you there is not that much information about them, which is very sad. So it's another reason it may not be directly related to these other murders, but I know a lot of people are probably going to watch this for details on the others. So I want to make sure that the Netherlands are put out there too, in the hopes that maybe somebody knows something somewhere. So now we're on to 2015, and I have a video for us before I go into that. This is a rather long one. It's about 6 minutes. So, but again, the family speaks out. So let's hear what they have to say.
That's JEFFGREGORY. We appreciate everybody being here today. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the murders of Kathy and Samantha Netherland, which occurred in Nelson County, just outside of Bardstown in the Botland community. Today we have Mrs. Holly Netherland, or Miss Holly Netherland, that's here representing her family. She's the daughter of Kathy and the sister of Samantha, and she's going to make a brief statement on the part of the family. So, Miss Holly Netherland.
A year ago, on April 22nd, I got a call that shattered my life. My mother and sister were dead. The first thought that ran through my head was, God, you can't take them. You took my daddy. You can't have them too. No amount of begging, screaming, crying to go back. Samantha, my movie and hooligan, the person who sat next to me and helped me beat the bosses of every video game I ever played, was gone. She's the only person I ever known that could name a Def Leppard song just by the first few chords. She's my little sister and my best friend. My mother, the woman who raised me, the person who put up with me the most, my hero when I was little, the woman who gave up so much for me, was gone. My sister will never be my maid of honor. I will never get to share another secret with her. Samantha will never be able to live her dreams. She'll never drive around the world with her white blue Mustang. She will never get to take care of the animals of SeaWorld or Newport. My mom will never get to meet her grandkids. She will never help me plan a wedding. She will never get to go to England or Ireland and walk around the lands of our ancestors. And I will never get to tell her she was right. She was right about everything. That I will always know her. I miss them more than anything in the world. No one realizes just how much I wish I could trade places with them. Samantha had so much potential that she will never get to realize. I would give anything to hear Samantha sing again. I would give anything to tell my mom just how much she influenced me. Every now and then I hear her in the back of my mind reminding me of all the things she tried to instill in me when I was growing up. I smile every time I think of my family in heaven. My mom keeping track of my dad playing jokes with my sister fighting back with my dad, and finding whatever animal she can. I imagine Samantha takes care of all the animals in heaven. I imagine my mom is doing her best to educate all the children in heaven. And I imagine that my dad is doing his best to drive them both nuts. The people who are in every painting I ever painted and everything I ever wrote are gone, and I don't know why. Which is why my family and I have decided to raise the reward to $50,000. We have done this in hopes of finding answers. If you know something, I am begging you to please come forward. Please give us closure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Holly. And she won't be entertaining any questions. I'll answer a few. I just want to cover a few brief bullet points that we have here. We have no new info to release in regards to this case at this time. Basically, what we've released in the past is going to be what I'm going to talk about here in just a second. The family of Kathy and Samantha Netherland will be holding a memorial balloon release tonight at 7 p.m. at Parkway Baptist Church in Bardstown. There's also a Facebook tip page that's been set up for the public to forward any information about the case that they may have to investigators. The page can be found at www.facebook.com/findthatcar. So that's www.facebook.com/findthatcar. We're looking, as you all know, for a newer model black Chevy Impala that was seen in the vicinity of the Netherlands home on April 21st, 2014, around 7:50 p.m. The vehicle does not appear to have a chrome strip or a rear spoiler and may have a small antenna mounted above the center of the rear windshield. At the time, the windows did not appear to be tinted. And again, to reiterate what Holly announced there, the reward for information on this case has been raised to $50,000. Anyone that has any information can contact anybody here at the KSP Post 4, and that number is 270-766-5078, or even their local law enforcement. So we appreciate you all being here, and that's what we have for you today.
Jeff, where's all the money coming from? Family?
Outstanding. We were at 2,500 before, and now we're at 50,000. That'd be something I'd talk to the investigators about. But at this time, anything that's involved with the investigation, we're kind of trying to keep close to the vest. So. That's part of the investigation as well. Anytime you have somebody that's committed a double murder, then there's obviously somebody that's running around that we don't want to be free, and that's why we've been working diligently for a year to try to get this solved. I'm saying it again. Is she staying with family? Yeah, that's not something we're going to talk about right now. Okay. Thank you all very much for coming.
Okay. So that's the end of that news clip. Now, I do spend a lot of time in the forums about all of these different murders. And so I'm just going to read the next part because I know what one of the theories is about this that I'm not going to repeat because it's just a theory. And there's yet for anything to come out about this at all except for rumors. Okay. But all right. So the reward for information went from $2,500 to $50,000. Okay. Now, Stacey Hibbard, who is Kathy's sister and Holly's aunt, is quoted as saying, actually, it's, I guess you could say, Holly's inheritance. We felt it was important enough, and so did she, that it would be worth putting up that money so that hopefully there would be a conclusion. So, and at the end of the memorial for Kathy and Samantha that day, a rainbow appeared, and Holly Netherland admitted chasing rainbows was a passion her mother and baby sister loved. She smiled, looking at the sky, but later said, I just want it over. I want this whole stuff to end, and I want this person brought to justice, and I want some peace. So let me do a little quick switcheroo here real quick. There we go. So on August 15th, the Bardstown Elementary School, where Kathy Netherland worked, honored her and her daughter's memories by building a playground in her honor. Principal Paul Bowling said the parts are already on site and will be installed over the next few weeks. The playground will be painted in Kathy's favorite colors, purple and yellow. I just think that is like the most wonderful way to honor Kathy and keep her spirit, you know, in that school. So I thought that was great. I wish media would mic up. Yeah, me too, right? They're the worst. I don't know why they always do their press conferences outside. It's never great for anybody. Yeah, it was very sweet. Let's see. Now next. All right, so that is pretty much all I have about the Netherlands to this point in 2018. I told you there wasn't that much. So this brings us now to May 2018. All right, May 25th. Does anybody remember what the significance of that day is? Oh my goodness, that thunder. Sorry. So it was, oh no, I think this is out of order. Hold on just a minute. So May 25th was, yeah, these are, hold on. Let me do this here. That was the day that Officer Jason Ellis was murdered. So we're going to watch a quick, I don't know why everything's being crazy right now. Could be because of my storm. Not sure because it's not wanting to load. Okay. Hold on just a second, please. Sorry, guys. I have audio, but okay. So cool. Don't you love when things don't work right when you're live in front of everybody? I do. Oh, do you hear the thunder? Yeah, it's pretty loud and rolling. It hasn't started raining yet, but it's getting there. It's probably why my internet's being so wonky right now. Bring the lighting on your way. Okay, so, well, that's maybe loading up. I don't know what's happening. So May 25th is the anniversary of the murder of Jason Ellis from 2013. This is the 5-year anniversary since he was gunned down, and his murder remains a mystery. So, hold on. Oh boy. This video is better than what I can tell you, so that's why I really wanted to work here. And there's an advertisement, of course. Ooh, that's a big one. Oh my, it rumbled my chair. Goodness. Okay. You guys hear that? It just keeps going. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, so this is a news clip from the memorial that they held for Jason Ellis and his family. And this is his wife, Amy, who I don't think I played anything where she had like been on media to speak out. So another reason why I wanted to play this. Let me boost it here. Okay.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Right now at 6, remembering a fallen hero. Today marks 5 years since Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis was shot and killed on his homework. Gathered to remember Officer Ellis at his gravesite in Bloomfield, Kentucky. WHAS 11's Anna Rivera was there.
5 years have passed since Officer Jason Ellis was brutally murdered, but that didn't stop a crowd of people from gathering here at his graveside to remember him, reliving those moments.
My body went numb as my mind was unable to process the news that my worst nightmare had come true.
Memories still vivid and
33-year-old husband's funeral, while coming to grips with the reality that all of our hopes and dreams had been taken from me.
The sound of taps rang through the Highview Cemetery, just as it did 5 years ago when Bardstown officers.
Since we lost an amazing man, it's still unsolved, and it's been 5 years. It's a kind of a milestone.
With a vow to never stop searching for his killer, also a vow to never forget the fallen hero.
Amy, I can tell you, as long as I'm the chief here of Bardstown, I will ensure you that Jason's memory will be kept alive.
Friends, strangers, and family, including Officer Ellis' son, gathered at his gravesite to lay a wreath of remembrance.
Guard, hold, pant, hook.
The wreath, an addition to the other keepsakes that tell the story of who Officer Ellis, who proudly served his community.
It is important they're killed in the line of duty
The police are still investigating this case, and if you have any information that could lead to an arrest, there is reward money. They're offering $216,000. In UHA.
This is an ambush, a murder, a plot. Scary for my daughter.
Oh my God, I was muted this whole time. Oh, gosh. Okay. Am I frozen or just my video's frozen? Anybody? Am I frozen or just the videos? Both are lagging. Okay. Crap. I'm pretty sure it's my storm. So, okay, that's fun. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Hold on just a second. Okay. All right, you can hear me now. Okay. We'll just give it a few minutes. Okay. Yeah, Amos, if you can go to May in the script. I have a heading, so just go to May 2015. If you don't mind. All right, so you guys can hear me, okay? All right, good. All right, well, let's see. We'll have somebody else bring up the videos, at least, because maybe over here that's too much right now while it's storming. So, uno momento, please, and thank you. Oh, goodness. It is warm. I can't tell if I'm frozen too or not. Oh, goodness. I'm fine. Okay. All right. I'm fine. I'm fine. Un momento while we get this up and going. The first one on that line, Amos, the first news clip, that's Jason's memorial. Did that play for you guys, or was that where the lagging really started? Okay, you want to play that one then go to the next one? Because that's really good and sad. Okay. All right. Look at that. That's teamwork, everybody. Teamwork makes the dream work. We're going to tell this story no matter what. The weather is not going to bring us down. No. Okay, good. I'm all good at least. All right.
The wait is over.
Yes, all right. Well,
5 years ago today. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Right now at 6, remembering a fallen hero. Today marks 5 years since Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis was shot and killed on his way home from work. His case still unsolved. Good evening. I'm Lisa Hudson in for Doug Prophet. Today, a large group gathered to remember Officer Ellis at his gravesite in Bloomfield, Kentucky. WHAS 11's Anna Rivera was there.
5 years have passed since Officer Jason Ellis was brutally murdered, but that didn't stop a crowd of people from gathering here at his graveside to remember him, reliving those moments.
My body went numb as my mind was unable to process the news that my worst nightmare had come true.
Memories still vivid and raw for Amy Ellis 5 years later.
I had to start planning my 33-year-old husband's funeral while coming to grips with the reality that all of our hopes and dreams had been taken from me.
The sound of taps rang through the Highview Cemetery, just as it did 5 years ago when Bardstown officer Jason Ellis was shot and killed on his way home from work.
Since we lost an amazing man, it's still unsolved, and it's been 5 years. It's a kind of a milestone.
With a vow to never stop searching for his killer, also a vow to never forget the fallen hero.
Amy, I can tell you, as long as I'm the chief here of Bardstown, I will ensure you that Jason's memory will be kept alive.
Friends, strangers, and family, including Officer Ellis's 2 sons, gathered at his gravesite to lay a wreath of remembrance.
Honor, guard, all pants, hook.
The wreath, an addition to the other keepsakes that tell the story of who Officer Ellis was. A father, a husband, a brother, and a friend who proudly served his community.
It is important to all of us who loved him that he isn't remembered just for being an officer killed in the line of duty, but that he's remembered for the life he lived and the way he served others.
Kentucky State Police are still investigating this case, and if you have any information that could lead to an arrest, there is reward money. They're offering $216,000. Anna Rivera, WHAS 11 News.
Okay, so that was that was loud. I'll just talk while Amy gets the other one pulled up here. So the next one we're going to be watching is an interview with Jason Ellis's mother-in-law, Chris Phillips, along with a few other people that are speaking out that we haven't seen them speak out before. It's also about 5 minutes long there. And then I do have some more stuff. As I said, we're going to continue covering and developing Jason Ellis and the Netherlands as we go through the years. So, okay, the video is streaming smoothly. Okay, that's the lovely, incredible Amos here as a wonderful helper because she's always saving me like a superhero. You can talk about the developments, Mama, Houck, and Nick not showing up in court. Nope. Not talking about it until we go to cover the trial in a couple episodes. But wow. Okay, so here is this interview. It's a little quiet.
This is an ambush, a murder, a plot. Scary for my daughter. It's scary for her children. It's traumatizing.
Oh, probably because I don't have my earbuds.
And they need to try to have some kind of a life. He was getting ready to head home. Hops on the Bluegrass Parkway like he always does. He had a routine. Gets on the parkway to head home. Gets off exit 34. Debris was laid in the road absolutely a few minutes prior to his exiting. Someone had to know that he was getting ready to get off. As usual, Jason's worried about somebody else, hitting it. Turns his lights on, gets out, pulls the debris, and as soon as he does, he's ambushed above him, hit pretty close range, so numerous times. So make sure they got the job done, and then that's it. Somebody comes along and sees him, thought he got hit by a car, calls it in, and an officer that we know well responded and realized he was shot. Never thought I'd be here at 5 years.
So
Most
sad.
people say we would be, but I didn't believe it. I felt like being it was an officer ambushed. Number one, that's rare. He's one of the few in the country that is not solved.
Oh, it was a trap.
That they have no idea. There's some that were ambushed. They kind of know it's gang related or whatever. They have, somebody claiming it. He's one of the few ambush law enforcement. And I thought without a doubt we would get someone call a tip in. But then you have to remember where we're at. Cornbread Mafia, Boone, he's eluded the police since the 80s, and half the county knew where he was at. They didn't tell. So you're in an area nobody's saying. There's $200,000+ reward and nobody's talking. What's that say?
Which I don't know how familiar you are with 245, but about where the rock quarry is when we heard the first squelch. The only thing you hear was a bunch of garble. So you couldn't understand what the person was saying. And then they finally got on there, and then there was a female seeing an officer down.
The normal citizen doesn't see things like that. What they see in their day-to-day in their day-to-day job is things that a normal citizen never sees. And then when you throw in tragedy of losing your beat partner, your best friend, on top of what they see in their everyday job, is just things that are just very difficult to cope with. So if you're out and you see a police officer, they should thank a police officer, because it's a job not many people are willing to step up and do.
I know that, especially the guys that worked with him, we still tell stories about things that he's done or the jokes that he would tell. And that's one of the ways that we remember him. And of course, Amy, she does come by sometimes and brings the boys up here. So if the other guys that work with him can still, be around his family, even though he's not with us anymore.
I know how hard KSP is working on the case, and they have dedicated troopers they have more man hours that are working on this case than probably any other case that they have. And I know how badly they want to solve the case, and just as much as we want the case solved. And so because of that, I have hope that this case is going to be solved.
Oh, just.
Nurses are the most
that's
trusted
tough.
profession in America.
Okay, so let's continue on with May 25th. Okay, so we know that they had the memorial service and everything. Oh, you guys are going to be so upset about this next part. Okay, so as time passes, his children grow older, and his canine partner, Figo, passed away. And look, they put Figo's remains there on the headstone as well, which I just thought, like, oh, that's so sweet. So it was the third annual procession that begins at the Bardstown Police Department, and the route followed Ellis's last ride home from work. The crowd traveled onto the Bluegrass Parkway exit ramp 34, which was the site of the murder. The caravan continued to the cemetery where Ellis was laid to rest, and a prayer was said and dozens of candles lit in honor of the officer. Now, Ellis's mother-in-law, Chris, who we just saw, wondered why no one has given up information. What does that say? It says a lot. When the reward gets bigger and bigger and bigger, hopefully that will tempt the right person. I don't think the case has progressed. Now, his widow, Amy Ellis, has been trying to get on with her life with her 2 sons and is making progress. She is engaged and plans to remarry this year, but there's no forgetting Jason, she says. Amy spoke on behalf of her husband and herself and other police widows at a memorial service for fallen Kentucky officers. Quote, "At 31 years old, my whole world was shattered. We lost all our hopes and dreams. I was terrified and angry. I spent the past 5 years trying to crawl out of the fog and PTSD from my husband being murdered. These are the harsh realities of being a police officer widow. Our husbands swore an oath, but it was us who have made the sacrifices to make it possible." Amy said she wanted her husband to be remembered not just as a slain police officer, but as a devoted, loving spouse and father. Quote, "It's important to all of us who loved him that he isn't remembered just for being an officer killed in the line of duty. We want to honor him for the life he lived by not forgetting. We honor him by choosing to live a life that would make him proud. It is up to us to be sure the legacy of who they were and the way they served is not forgotten." And police still don't know who pulled the trigger or why, and it's baffling to Amy Ellis. Quote, "I don't know why. The case has been so deeply investigated, and it just doesn't make any sense." Last year, the Kentucky State Police in 2017 hired 2 retired troopers to focus full-time on the Ellis case and all the other unsolved murders in Nelson County. Amy Ellis said she and her 2 sons moved away from Bardstown for their safety and well-being. I can't blame her. I would do the same thing. The boys, Parker and Hunter, were only 6 and 7 years old when they were robbed of their dad. She remembers that the last time she saw her husband, he was coaching Parker's baseball team. Quote, "I distanced myself from that so I could try to feel safe and bring my boys up as normal as possible, as I know Jason would want me to. It is very frustrating. I don't like to go back because it feels heavy. I think every year I'm in a better place, but it never fails. The weather starts changing and the smell in the air, it brings you back to the day before, and then you just relive it and it plays over in your head. Parker is playing baseball, and just this past week, being at the field kind of brought back the smells in the field. The very last place I saw Jason was at the baseball field. We miss him and we love him. I wish he could be here for the boys and see them grow up. He'd be so proud of how they're growing up to be strong, resilient young men." When asked about her soon-to-be new husband and if she thought Jason would approve, she said, "It's not what I expected, and I know in his life either, but God had bigger plans for us. We met through a mutual friend, and it was instant. He's been very supportive in allowing the boys and me to honor Jason, and that's been a very important part. The relationship comes with the blessing of Ellis's family. They welcomed him with open arms, and everyone has said if Jason could pick someone, it would be him." And I'm just so happy to hear that, one, she found a guy who is okay with what happened, because it's a tough shadow, to have over you. So I hope she's having the happiest of lives. So, you guys, excuse me, we go to June 27th, 2018. And Brooks Houck speaks out for the first time in 3 years to a local news channel, WDRB, who asked for his side of the story. Don't we love when Brooks has something to say? Okay. He says, quote, I've been advised, to ride the wave and keep on keeping on. And that's what I've done. And it's worked out great this far, Brooks said. Sherry Ballard, Crystal's mom, was not pleased at his response, and I don't blame her. Why would he ride the wave? Why wouldn't he want to know where my daughter is at? It's not like he's not interested in finding my daughter. If somebody accuses me of something, I'm going to fight back and I'm going to prove my innocence. I think Brooks Houck killed my daughter. Brooks goes on to say, I don't have anything to say. I really don't have anything to say. I really don't have anything to say because I don't know anything. So I really don't have anything to say. Yes, you guys. He said, I don't have anything to say 4 times in one sentence. Like, okay, words are not his strong point, apparently. And Juju says, people are being closed-mouthed just like the Karen Reed case. Blue wall involved, I think. No spoilers, no one knows. I mean, there's... Lady in Gray says, Brooks speaks as well as Matt McKay breathes. So true. All right. So we have another news clip for you guys. This is from July 3rd, which we all know is the anniversary of Crystal Rogers going missing. And Crystal's family has now raised the reward to $100,000 to the person with information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the responsible. So let's give that a listen if I know how things work. There we go.
Family refusing to give up in their search for answers 3 years after a mother of 5 disappeared. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Doug Prophet. Crystal Rogers was last seen on July 3rd, 2015.
I like his tie.
In the years since, her family has continued to fight for information in her disappearance and justice for their loved one. WHS 11's Shay McAllister has been talking with them today. Shay?
Right, Doug. Investigators tell us they get new tips in this case every single week, but 3 years later, still no arrests and no information as to what may have happened to Crystal Rogers. So tonight, her family is raising the reward for information to $100,000 in hopes that could make the difference in closing this case. On street corners and shop windows, signs of support for missing mother of 5, Crystal Rogers.
These people are getting me through this.
These signs have been out since days after her disappearance in July of 2015. The message, prayers for a safe return, a sign of the times. Police now call her case a homicide investigation, but her mother, Sherry Ballard, will not lose hope.
Miracles do happen, and we have to always leave that little space open that miracle may happen one day.
But that one day hasn't come soon enough. For this family, every day is more painful than the one before.
Time don't heal nothing.
3 years without a sister, a mother, a daughter. A nightmare they didn't think could get any worse. And then Tommy Ballard, Crystal's father, was shot and killed. He had made it his mission to find his missing daughter.
We were an innocent family that got caught up in a nightmare, and I'm just not going to let this go.
I'll never stop looking for her. We won't. No matter what happens, we won't stop.
Now the community is doing something special to show their support. Painting the town pink. It was Crystal's favorite color. You can find it across Bardstown all this week. A reminder of what was lost and what this family is still hoping will be found.
We'll find her, though. It'll just take time. But we won't quit till we do.
And tonight, a vigil to remember Crystal. It starts at 7:30 at St. Teresa Hall in Bardstown. Our Heather Fontaine will be there, bringing you the latest tonight on 11 at 11. Doug?
That family gets me every time. I can't watch Sherry enough. What a beautiful woman she is, and so strong. So I'm going to say that so many times because I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she does it. Juju Bean says that Lady in Gray, this case has made me sick for 10 years. Llama's doing great. She is reminding me of stuff that I forgot. Painful, but the truth is slowly coming out. Thank you. I'm very flattered, as I know you're a local, and I'm glad I'm doing it some justice for you guys. So let's get back to our story. This is a fun part. So July 18th, 2018, Brooks Houck is arrested on 4 counts of felony theft for allegedly stealing more than 200 bundles of roofing shingles from a Lowe's store over the course of 3 days in April 2018. I like that mugshot. Mugshots look good on him. Witnesses saw police remove 3 evidence bags and a computer modem from his home. Now, he was released the following day on a $25,000 bond. It was strange, said Sammy Johnson, who witnessed the search. This was supposed to be about shingles. And why do you have the federal agents that are searching? This ain't about shingles, I don't think. I think it's bigger. We are looking for financial records in relation to the theft charges, said Bardstown Police Chief Kim Krasig. The police told me that it's not connected, said Sherry Ballard, and I get that. He got in trouble for theft, but to me, there is a connection because it'll show them what kind of person Brooks really is. Ballard said she was disappointed to hear he got out of jail. Quote, of course, I would have loved to see him in there forever, but I'm just happy that he went. She said she had a feeling that Houck would easily get out of jail, but she hopes he doesn't get away with it. I'm actually shocked that he was even arrested at all. So I'm praying they're going to do what they need to do and give him the maximum of what he deserves. If found guilty of all charges, Houck could get a total of a maximum of 20 years behind bars. So we skip forward a couple weeks to August 2nd, when Brooks Houck pleads not guilty to the theft charges. And we have another news clip here for you guys. Switcheroo there. Look at us doing all the things. All right. Let's hear it.
Spent the morning in a courtroom, but not for anything connected to his former girlfriend, Crystal Rogers of Nelson County. However, family members of the still missing Rogers were there to see the man unofficially considered a suspect in this case. WHS 11's Shay McAllister is here now for details on Houck's current case. Shay?
Right, Doug. Houck was arrested last month on felony theft charges and spent 1 night in jail. He pleaded not guilty, though, to those charges in court today. This arrest has nothing to do with Crystal Rogers, but her family made their presence known during his court appearance this afternoon.
Llama versus Brooks Houck.
Brooks Houck came to court Thursday with only his lawyer by his side, but the gallery was full. Friends and family of missing mother of 5, Crystal Rogers. She disappeared 3 years ago. Houck is considered the main suspect in her case.
It's hard really to look at him, but I know I have to sometimes. I'm not going to let him intimidate me.
Houck is facing felony theft charges. Police say he stole shingles from Lowe's earlier this year. This case completely different from Crystal's and under investigation by a different agency. But Crystal's family holds out hope that her case could be closer to closure.
I know it has nothing to do with my daughter, but it does show what kind of person that Brooks Houck is. So to me, that's very important.
3 years without answers in her daughter's case has been difficult for Sherry Ballard, but she says she knows one day she will sit in the Nelson County courtroom getting justice for her daughter.
I wait for that day every minute, every second of my life. But to see him here for anything, I will take that.
Girl.
And Houck is expected back in court in January. If convicted on all charges, he could be facing up to 20 years of prison time. Shay McAllister, WHAS 11 News.
Oh, yes. So that's a fun development, don't you think? So on August 13th, 2018, The family of Kathy and Samantha Netherland issued a statement on their Justice for Kathy and Samantha Facebook page. I don't know if that's still up and going because I don't have social media, but if you have Facebook and it still is, then I suggest joining it and helping spread whatever words they need spread them out amongst social media in hopes to solve these two murders. But they issued a statement on that Facebook page sending support to the Ballard family and denying a connection between the two unsolved cases. Quote, "We would like to send our support to Sherry Ballard and her family and pray they get positive results from sharing Crystal and Tommy's stories. There's never been any evidence that Kathy and Samantha's deaths are linked to the other three Nelson County cases, Officer Ellis, Crystal Rogers, and Tommy Ballard. As Kathy and Samantha's family, we have no belief or knowledge that Kathy or Samantha knew any of the parties. Kathy never taught any of their children, and Samantha never babysat for any of them." Now, I think the family issuing that kind of statement, they've probably gotten some sort of significant information from the police that it's not related to those. So I think we should just take what the family and law enforcement has said in saying that the Netherland case is most likely not connected, right? They don't know 100% sure, but it's looking like it's not, which I don't know if that's better or worse, because then that means there's even more mystery murderers in this area. So then in September 3rd, Sherry Ballard speaks out about two new documentaries. So we're going to watch a quick news clip about that, and then I'm going to talk about one of the documentaries that came out. So let's bring that up and let's give that a listen.
It has been her mission for 3 years to find out what happened to her daughter, Crystal Rogers. Tonight, Sherry Ballard tells us she's following new leads as her daughter's disappearance and her husband's shooting death are getting national attention. Good evening. I'm Lisa Hudson. Doug is off tonight. 11 at 11's Robert Bradfield sitting down with Sherry Ballard earlier today to talk about the response that she's getting from two television series highlighting these cases. Robert?
And those two separate series debuted last month. And already Sherry Ballard says she's heard from people across the country. Some people calling in tips that she says they've been sitting on because they were too scared to come forward. Those tips also generating enough interest for Ballard and her family to start new searches. The disappearance of Bardstown's Crystal Rogers and the death of her father, Tommy Ballard, spotlighted in two national television series on Oxygen and Investigation Discovery.
Nobody's seen her.
Sherry Ballard, Crystal's mom and Tommy's wife, welcomed the camera crews with the hope of getting more exposure and more answers.
I begged for help. I reached out to anyone that would listen to my situation.
Sherry says viewers are listening and are calling in tips that she believes may otherwise have been withheld, if not for her willingness to put herself out there.
I think seeing us on the show and what we've been through and the heartbreak that we've had and we're still dealing with, I think that's touched people.
Those tips now leading Ballard and her family to start new searches for Crystal, who hasn't been seen since July 2015.
We have some areas that we're getting ready to search pretty soon, so we're searching those areas on tips that we've got from this show.
Sherry is also focused on solving her husband's November 2016 shooting death.
Every day is a struggle for us, but one more day is one more day that we get through this.
With the help from viewers, Sherry prays the cases can be cracked and even solved. And it starts with someone coming forward, even if it's the smallest of information.
To all these people that walk up to me and reach out to me, I just want to say thank you. And God, you just don't know what you have done for me, and I appreciate that very, very much.
Oh, God.
Sherry says those searches are in places that have not been
Just makes me wanna
searched
cry.
before and could include areas outside of Bardstown. Now, Brooks Houck, who was Crystal's boyfriend, is considered a suspect in her disappearance, but he has not been charged. Robert Bradfield, 11 at 11.
Mm. Sherry Ballard, man, every time, just hear her voice and I just want to cry every time. Yes, prayers for, well, for everyone, the Ballards, the Ellises, the Netherlands. Boy. All right, so they talked about 2 new documentaries that are coming out at this time. I'm going to talk about one in particular because I've actually seen that one. I didn't even know about the other one, to be quite honest, until I was researching this. So I'll probably watch that over the weekend. But the one that I did see was from the Oxygen channel, which aired a multi-episode documentary called The Disappearance of Crystal Ballard. As a matter of fact, I saw this a couple years ago when the lovely Amos streamed it in Discord for us. And that's when I first heard about the case because she was very big into this case. And I was like, holy crap, this is wild. So if you want to check it out over the weekend, I think it's on Peacock at this moment. I'm not sure, but it'll catch you up to where we are now in the story. Plus, you'll get to see a lot of interviews from various people and kind of the layout of Bardstown. Now, I'm going to discuss some of the things that were in this documentary. And, you know, we got to take into consideration that while they may be looking for answers, it is sort of, we don't at this time know if any of these things are actually important, if they pan out. But I think we will get answers once we get to the trials to see what did and didn't, you know, amount to anything. But I'm going to share some of the highlights from this documentary. So this documentary follows around reporter Stephanie Bauer and retired homicide detective Dwayne Stanton as they go to Bardstown. Now, before his death, Roger's father, Tommy, led his own personal investigation into her disappearance, which we all know. And you get to see the amount of stuff that Tommy had put together. Now, Sherry believes Tommy was getting close to finding out what happened to her before he was fatally shot and killed in 2016. Tommy kept all of his findings in a box, which had only been shared with close friends and family. What I wouldn't give to see everything in that box. And now, reporter Stephanie Bauer and retired homicide detective Dwayne Stanton. Stanton said Tommy kept his entire investigation inside of that box. Videotapes, locations, addresses, communication documented, categorized, inventory, everything. He said he's been doing this for almost 40 years now, and he's never seen anything like it. I mean, Tommy was dedicated and hell-bent to find out what was happening to his daughter. Now, in that box, Ballard and Stanton found a letter written to the Ballard family by a prison inmate in February of 2016. Again, guys, we don't know what's all coming out is actually true from this documentary. We don't know yet, but I think it's interesting and we should take it into a little bit of consideration because it obviously was in Tommy Ballard's stuff. So the inmate claimed to have information about Roger's disappearance as well as 2 other unsolved murders in Bardstown. The fatal shooting of 33-year-old Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis and the double homicide of Kathy and Samantha Netherland. In the letter, he writes, I know this isn't much, but I tried to notify Bardstown police twice by letter, not only about Crystal's case, but also about the Netherlands and Jason Ellis. Not one officer from Bardstown has bothered to come and see me. The inmate said he overheard a fellow convict disclose that Crystal wasn't in Bardstown. He spoke of an area called White's Mill in Highway 62. There's an area near Bardstown named White Mills, which could be what the inmate was referencing. The inmate also said he knows details about the Netherland murders that haven't been released to the public, such as there was no forced entry and then a cell phone jammer was placed at the front door to kill all cell phone signals. Again, guys, this is just what an inmate is saying. I'm not saying any of this is facts, just so we're clear. Okay, but interesting to think about. He went on to say he had information about Jason Ellis's murder. I told them things they don't know, such as 3 guys planned it in my basement. In 2012, several storage areas and other commercial burglaries had taken place in Bardstown, and I have evidence to that as well. The inmate also said a shotgun from the night of Ellis's murder was destroyed with a cutting torch and a vise, both of which the inmate said he still has. Now, in the finale of the docuseries, excuse me, pardon me. Where was I here? Okay. Reporter Stephanie Bauer and retired homicide detective Dwayne Stanton talk with the anonymous inmate on the phone. Yep, that's right. You can hear him on the documentary. Now, during the conversation, the inmate said he knew of a garage or some kind of structure that had been burnt down near White Mills, Kentucky. He also said, I was told that, that she was cut up and the building was burnt to destroy evidence. The inmate said he visited the site in 2016. He went on to say that after Rogers was killed, her car was planted on the Bluegrass Parkway. Though the inmate's claims had yet to be substantiated by law enforcement, Bauer and Stanton opened their own inquiry into the details he provided and visited the site where Rogers' remains were allegedly destroyed. There were ashes at the site, suggesting that a structure had been burned down, like the inmate claimed, and Bauer and Stanton were able to confirm that multiple fires occurred at that location, starting in June 2016, almost a year after Rogers went missing. The inmate also told them details about the deaths of Kathy and Samantha Netherland. He claimed that they were killed during a gang initiation, saying, quote, well, I know they was tortured. I know that they were tied to their chairs. I know that one of them had her throat slit. They was stabbed and one was shot. I know that trinkets were taken as trophies. The inmate also said the cell phone jammer was placed at the Netherlands' front door to kill all the signal in the house. Now, to further investigate the inmate's claims, Bauer and Stanton go meet with Kathy's daughter and Samantha's sister, Holly Netherland Williams now. While Holly was unable to confirm the inmate's claim, she said his theories about the gang initiation and trophies being taken from the crime scene were possible. When asked about the cell phone jammer, Holly said, this is news to me. I mean, that would explain why they didn't get a call off, because I know my mom always had a phone in her hand. Samantha, I'd like to think that if something happened to mom, that she would have tried to get a call off. She would have had a cell phone. Another detail that struck Holly was the alleged torture that her mother and sister endured during the tag. Quote, I've been asked by the police about the relative location of chairs. This is one of those things that I'm not comfortable talking about. How they died is not one of the main things I want to think about, which is fair. As for Jason Ellis, the inmate revealed that at least 4 men were hired to kill Ellis, but didn't reveal his connection to them. Bauer and Stanton asked him why the information wasn't revealed sooner, and he said the men involved were eliminated and some had tied up loose ends to keep the investigation quiet. As a previous higher-up member in unspecified organizations, the inmate told Bauer that many people confided in him about criminal activity, including details on all 4 of the unsolved cases in Bardstown. The inmate said he spoke with law enforcement about the information, but they turned it around on him and allegedly wanted him to confess to at least one of the killings. Now, the inmate said that he refused to implicate himself and cut off communication with authorities. He also explained that by trying to connect into the murders, he believed police were attempting to stop him from disclosing what he knew. Now, Bauer and Stanton later met with Kentucky State Police Sergeant Ryan Johnson and Detective John Snow of the Nelson County Sheriff's Office to try to corroborate the inmate's information. Both Johnson and Snow urged the inmate to come forward, and shortly after, the inmate reached out to authorities. Kentucky State Police have said they are looking into his claims. So that's interesting. again, it is an inmate. Makes it a little hard to believe that you know everything about four murders, but we've heard wilder things in this story so far, and we will hear wilder things as we keep going. So, again, this is, we're telling this story in chronological order. So at this time, the documentary comes out and everywhere is a buzz with the new information that's come out, right? So in this documentary as well, they talk about the death of Tommy Ballard. In the first episode, retired ATF Special Agent Jim Kavanaugh visited the site of Tommy's death with Bauer. Retired homicide detective Dwayne Stanton and Tommy's son, Casey Ballard. Casey walked the team through his father's shooting and showed Kavanaugh, a ballistics expert, a section of brush surrounding his family's property that had been sawed down to create a clearing. It is very interesting to see, you guys. Though Casey believed the clearing might have been made by his father's killer, Kavanaugh theorized it was a surveillance port. Quote, "This ain't no shooting port." So what they did was cut this open before Tommy was shot so they could monitor him, Kavanaugh said. He explained one person could have been the lookout and another the shooter, and Tommy's death might have been the result of a more elaborate assassination plot. There was an anonymous witness in this episode as well that explained that on the morning of November 19th, 2016, she was driving to work a little after 6 a.m. when she saw a suspicious car on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway. She told Bauer and Casey that she had passed under a bridge with multiple exit signs when she noticed that the vehicle had pulled over and parked in the emergency lane. Based on her description, Casey, the brother, was able to determine the vehicle was parked right where Tommy was shot. I know exactly what she's talking about. It backs up to our farm. The witness said she then went on to work like any other day. But at 10:30, someone made the announcement that Tommy Ballard's just been killed. I knew I seen something. If I'd known, I would have stopped that morning if it would have prevented what happened. Now, after driving by the area the witness identified, Bauer concluded this idea that someone might have dropped off and picked up a shooter on the Bluegrass Parkway that morning is exactly what Kavanaugh told us. Now, y'all remember the white Buick that was Anna Whiteside's that we talked about in the last episode that was sold? Well, after the cops were done with it, they gave it back to the dealership where she had traded it in. And for this documentary, the team found it and did their own examination with forensic reconstruction specialist Joey Steidham. I'm not going to say that I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one. Okay. I don't know how I feel about all this, but here we are. So while looking under one of the Buick seats, Steidman made what could be a major discovery. Quote, "I saw what appeared to be a black box. I pulled it out and it's a GPS unit," he said. Steidham explained he would send the unit in for processing to see if they could uncover any GPS data. Stanton said, "The GPS is a big find. It looks like an older model, so I don't think it's something the dealership placed in the car. It could potentially tell us where this car was in July 2015 when Crystal went missing." And on the lining of the Buick, Steidham's team also discovered fluid stains that they plan to test for human blood. So those are a couple of highlights from that documentary. Like I said, it's called The Disappearance of Crystal Rogers. It's very insightful. It's several parts, so you guys can give that a watch this weekend. So let me just take a quick little break here real quick and see if the chat has been up to. Yes, lots of rumors, guys, lots of rumors. Who knows? I don't like to share the rumors, but this was on a documentary, so maybe they're right. I don't know. Juju Bean says, yes, this case is being called the no body case. There's no body, Crystal's body never found. Rumors galore about that. Lady in Gray says, I know what I'm watching this weekend. Yeah, and if you don't have Peacock, maybe sometime this week in our Discord server, the Courtyard, we might be able to stream it for you. Not this weekend, because I know a couple of us are out of town, but maybe during the holiday week next week, we can stream it as well. At least it wasn't Aperture. No, we won't be watching the documentary here, but we will watch it in our Discord server. So be sure you join that. The link is in the description or in all the other places. Now, let's move on to something that is very frustrating, and it happens all the time in the true crime community, and I hate it. I hate it so much. So in October 5th, Sherry Ballard has to publicly warn the public about phony Facebook scams.
Case thrown into the national spotlight is getting widespread attention, but tonight, a warning from that family. Good evening, I'm Lisa Hudson. Doug is off tonight. Crystal Rogers went missing in 2015, and the next year, her father, Tommy Ballard, was shot and killed while hunting. Both of those cases are still unsolved, and now new problems surrounding social media. WHAS 11 Shay McAllister talking to the family today. Shay?
Lisa, the family tries to keep Tommy and Crystal's names on social media, but lately they're finding frauds or trying to profit off of their pain, and they don't want you to fall victim.
Such scumbags.
Sherry Ballard knows the strength behind the screen. Social media, a powerful tool.
I have to keep my daughter's name out there. I have to do that. I have to get justice for my husband, and that's how I can do that. That's how I reach the people that I can reach now.
But lately, she's finding that powerful tool to prove a bit problematic. After the Oxygen Network aired a series on her daughter's disappearance, interest in the case soared. She started seeing sites about her daughter, discussing details she says aren't true.
I don't know those people. I don't know who started that. When I wasn't real happy with one of them, they blocked me from the whole webpage to where I couldn't respond or say anything.
That made her nervous, but then things got worse. A phony Facebook page asking for donations for the family.
And to think that someone would try to benefit from that, it's hard. It's very hard to think that that could happen. It's hard to think that people could be that cruel.
Sherry says they have never and will never ask for your money. She also suggests if you want to follow Crystal's case, you follow one page. This one.
Just this one.
Team Crystal.
We do not have closure on Crystal, and until we bring her home, then we won't stop. I'll keep this out in the national eye as long as I have people to help me do that.
Not giving up on social media today, she says she will still do anything to find closure in these cases. Again, the best way to keep up with the family online is that Team Crystal Facebook page. It's run by family, friends, and monitored by the family. And when it comes to money, the Ballard family will never ask you for it online. Shay McAllister, WHAS 11 News.
Yeah, so I wanted to share that because that is a very, very big problem in the true crime community, whether it's missing people or cases, these pop-up scam groups. You need to double check all the time. Is this ran by a family member? I'm not saying that maybe another group of people are creating a group to help look. That's fine. But if somebody else is asking for money that is not the family of anyone that's passed or is missing, don't give them money, right? Because it's not probably going to go where you think it might go. And good, wonderful people are being taken advantage of. It happens all the time, sadly. I hate that that's the world that we're living in. Yes, be diligent if you want to help. Watch out for scams. Always reach out to whoever's in charge of the page. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions that they should be willing to give you the answers to. And if they're not, then you know. Then you know. Yes, here's a link in our chat, our live chat we have going on. This is the Facebook link for the Team Crystal Facebook group. So if you want to join that, if you have Facebook, please do. This is their one and only, as Sherry said, one and only Facebook group ran by the family. Now we're getting close to the end of 2018, and now we're on to November 2nd. And here we have kind of an update from Captain Jon Snow. So we're going to give that. I think Sherry speaks in here as well, but let's see what they have to say.
I think every day we're getting a little bit closer. I do think one day that I'm going to find justice for my daughter.
More than 3 years after Sherry Ballard's daughter disappeared, she is encouraged by the work being done by investigators. On Thursday, Captain Jon Snow with the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, the lead investigator since day one, made it clear Crystal Rogers' case has not gotten cold. Hundreds of hours of overtime, 72 search warrants, investigations in multiple counties and states, and 172 pieces of evidence. Building the case, he said, requires time and patience.
We really only get one shot at that. So if we prosecute too early or we go after someone without the proper evidence, that person may get acquitted and we may never get another opportunity to prosecute that person.
The sheriff's office admits in the 3 years since Crystal Rogers disappeared, tips in her case have slowed down. But thanks to 2 recent national television programs, the phone here is once again ringing, and they promise every single tip is being investigated. Family says that is something they are grateful for.
People have not forgotten that she's missing. So that makes me feel good, just knowing that people are still talking everywhere, because it's going to take me that one person to get that right person. So I feel really good about that.
Snow believes that it's those tips along with evidence that will one day bring the case to trial.
We really need to find out what happened to Crystal. We really need to bring some closure to the Ballard family.
I think everyone would love to find justice for my family. I have no doubt about that.
100%.
I think there'll be a lot of happy people when justice is finally done.
In Nelson County, Lauren Adams, WLKY News.
Okay. So, you guys ready to get mad? Because I think you're going to get very annoyed and mad. So, a lot of you have been asking me about the custody of the children. So, here's an update about that. So, also on November 2nd, the same day as that update, a 3-judge panel has revoked the grandparent visitation rights of Sherry Ballard. Sherry said she plans to fight the ruling. I would too. So a few weeks after Crystal went missing in 2015, Sherry and her late husband Tommy filed a petition for grandparent visitation in Nelson County Circuit Court. Brooks Houck currently has custody of the child and has appealed the decision since, saying it isn't in his son's best interest. He cited tension with Ballard, as she has publicly and continually said that she believes Houck killed her daughter. Now, after several trial custody hearings, a judge initially granted Ballard visitation times with her grandson from 10 a.m. Saturday to 6 p.m. Sunday, every other weekend. During those hearings, the trial court acknowledged animosity between parties, but observed that the potential benefit of the boy in having contact with a loving grandmother who has been such a significant part of his life and contact with his other siblings outweighs the potential for detriments of visitation. But a 3-judge panel overruled that, agreeing that contention between Houck and Ballard has boiled over to a point that it's not in the boy's best interest to spend time with his grandmother. Houck testified that Ballard harassed him and his girlfriend, both online and in person, and it had a negative impact on his relationship with his son. Quote, this is Brooks saying this, testifying. He says, after returning from visits with the Ballards, the boy is sullen and uncooperative. Now, Houck further stated that the boy is extremely accusatory, asking him, what did you do to my mommy? And that everyone wants to know. The panel concluded that the evidence herein unquestionably established that the relationship between the parties is plagued by acrimony and that the hostility between them is unlikely to abate. And there has, in fact, been a detrimental aspect to the boy spending time in the Ballard household. Sherry Ballard declined to comment on the appeal, but said this about Houck. There won't ever be a day that I won't say Brooks murdered my daughter. Now, the appeals court sent the case back to the judge, saying there needs to be another hearing that applies the appropriate standard to determine visitation rights. Oh, that makes me so mad. Oh, it makes me so mad. Because also, this boy's old enough to read, okay? You're in a small town. There's signs everywhere. He knows that it's his mom. Like, I don't think you can place all of this on the Ballards, okay? I really don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the evidence was, but I'm sure the Houcks have nothing but positive things to say about the Ballards. I'm sure they're just stand-up citizens, that Houck family. As we'll learn how good of people they really are here soon. Don't worry. So that moves us on to November 19th, 2018. This is how we're going to cap off that year. So we're going to watch two news clips. The first is the 2-year memorial mass for Tommy Ballard. And then we're going to watch Till Ballard, Tommy's father, speak out as well, because I love him. All right.
Friends once again for a memorial mass. On the 2-year anniversary of Tommy Ballard's death, family and friends once again crowded into Bardstown St. Thomas Church for a memorial mass. Sherry Ballard spent the first anniversary the same way, and 1 year later, she made the same plea for answers. Her daughter, Crystal Rogers, disappeared in July 2015. Her husband was murdered 16 months later on the family's hunting land just off the Bluegrass Parkway.
In my heart, I know who did both, but it's the justice that I have to get. And if anybody can help me with that, I beg them to do that.
KSP says they've got an active investigation. Trooper Scotty Sharp says several retired detectives are working just Ballard's case. And as one of the first on scene that cold November morning, he promises the evidence is there.
We didn't release that scene till the next day.
Why?
Just because we wanted to make sure that we combed the area, we got every bit of evidence that was at the scene, and be able to, so we didn't miss anything.
Still, he says state police need the public's help to build the case against Ballard's killer.
We want to bring someone to justice for it, and so we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that that we solve this case.
It's not going to bring them back, but it will make us feel better. We can try to build from that and go on with our lives.
In Bardstown, Lauren Adams, WLKY News.
All right. And then the next one we'll be watching is, like I said, Till Ballard, Tommy's father. And remember, Till Ballard, as we discussed in the first episode, in 1979, his daughter, Tommy's sister, was disappeared and murdered by her husband. So this is not Till Ballard's first time dealing with this. And then he turns around and his son is murdered for investigating his granddaughter. So tough. All right, let's see what Till has to share with us.
And continuing coverage here tonight, 2 years of no answers, 2 years of no justice. The question tonight, who killed Tommy Ballard? Was it connected also to his daughter's disappearance? Well, on this 2-year anniversary of Tommy's death, his family shares their struggles and sadness with our Dennis Ting, who's joining us now. Dennis.
Well, Robert, I asked Till Ballard, Tommy's father, what's changed over the last 2 years. He says, not much. They're still looking for answers, but their determination to find justice has also stayed the same. There are several yard signs lined up along this quiet country road, the effects of age showing on some.
All the signs.
While time continues to pass, the Ballard family says the quest for justice is not wearing out.
We're hoping it won't go another year. We'll find out where Crystal is and who murdered our son, Tommy.
Till Ballard's son, Tommy, was killed 2 years ago when he was hunting with his grandson on his family's property. Just 18 months earlier, Tommy's daughter, Crystal Rogers, disappeared. Both cases are still under investigation, and so far, no one has been arrested.
There's 16 or 17 unsolved murders in Nelson County. and Tommy was the last one.
Ballard says he has received updates from investigators who've told him they have received new leads, but are not able to discuss them with anybody.
The event is scheduled for 6:30 p.m.
Ballard says the community has also been a great support over the past few years. St. Thomas Church in Bardstown is scheduled to hold another special mass for Tommy on Monday, 2 years after his death.
He would do things for people that needed help and wouldn't charge them a dime. That's the kind of person Tommy was.
The Ballards have also received a lot of national attention this past year, with 2 recent documentaries profiling both Crystal's disappearance and Tommy's death. Attention, Ballard says, has been very appreciated.
I think the detective that came out of Washington, D.C., I think he really opened up a jar of worms.
But as time ticks on, Ballard says he won't slow down when it comes to his quest to find those responsible for his family's heartache and to make sure they're behind bars.
You can't forget, but you got to forgive. Not here. I'm not forgiving nobody that murdered my granddaughter and my son. If I have to go to hell for that, I guess I'll go, because I'm not forgiving them.
No.
And that special mass for Tommy Ballard's 2-year anniversary will be held tomorrow at St. Thomas Church in Bardstown. The mass will start at 6:30 in the evening. It is open to the public. Dennis Ting, 11.
I do hope that that man gets answers for what happened to his son and granddaughter before he passes. I already get emotional when I see men cry, but then when you see older men cry, it's tough. It's so tough. All right, so that closes out the year 2018. A lot of stuff happened, but also didn't happen at the same time. So now we're going to jump into 2019, also another year where some things happened and a lot of nothing happened. So let's get into 2019. We're going to start it off with another news clip. I know there's a lot, guys, but we're building to something. Okay. And they're like little time capsules of our journey. So we're going to start off with January 7th, which I don't think I've disclosed is Tommy's birthday. And this is a news clip of his family remembering his birthday, and includes one of his brothers who we have not seen speaking out. So let's watch something about his birthday.
A Bardstown family is starting this year with a renewed hope for answers and justice.
More than 2 years after Tommy Ballard, the father of missing Nelson County mother Crystal Rogers, was shot and killed, WDRB's Katrina Helmer reports the investigation could rest in your hands.
Surrounded by constant reminders of the tragic day, this day is difficult for the Ballard family. It would have been Tommy's birthday. In a field along Bluegrass Parkway, off in the distance, there's a cross marking the place where Tommy Ballard died.
Like the holidays, birthdays are a hard part of the year too.
As Tommy's brother and father gaze on that spot, the pain does not fade with time, especially on January 7th.
Today's Tommy's birthday. He would have been 57 today.
November 2016, Tommy Ballard was shot and killed on family land. He was going hunting with his grandson.
Tommy was a devoted family person, loved his wife, loved his kids, and hardworking, would do anything for anybody.
Tommy's death is classified as a death investigation. His family believes he was murdered and that it's connected to the high-profile disappearance of his daughter, Crystal Rogers.
There's no doubt in our minds whatsoever.
Police named Rogers' then-boyfriend, Brooks Houck, as the only suspect in her case, but no arrests have been made and nothing in connection to Tommy Ballard's death.
You know, kind of in our minds and hearts of what happened, but there's nothing that can be done about it right now until somebody comes forward.
2 Kentucky State Police detectives are assigned specifically to these cases. There's a $20,000 reward for information leading to Tommy's killer and a $100,000 reward for Crystal's.
You know, you think it would get easier to talk about and things, but it doesn't.
With any information, you can call Kentucky State Police. Reporting in Nelson County, I'm Katrina Helmer, WDRB News.
Yeah, where that sign is that she's standing behind, I believe that is where they believe the killer entered into and saw the tree branches, where that sign that his brothers put there. Okay, so that was January 7th, 2019. January 19th, 2019. The place where the theft trial of Brooks Houck will take place is still up in the air. Houck was indicted in July 2018 on 5 counts of theft. Police allege that Houck stole roofing shingles from the Bardstown Lowe's Home Improvement Center. According to the court, all sides believe a change of venue is necessary, but the question is where the trial will be moved. I mean, I agree. I agree. That's a small town. He's probably not going to have a fair trial no matter what it's about. So there's that. Now, let's go on to April 17th. Back to the Netherlands here. So the brutal killings of Kathy and Samantha Netherland have not been solved after almost 5 years. But Kentucky State Police and the family members cling to hope. The Kentucky State Police released a statement from the family. Netherland family members said they are not giving up hope that justice will be served. And here's what the statement said. Quote, Kathy and Samantha are so much more than the circumstances of their death. Please remember their lives and the kindness they brought. Kathy and Samantha made the world a better place. And I will say that everything I've heard of them leads me to believe that that is very, very true. Now, Stacy Hibbard, Kathy's sister, said the misery the killer or killers caused is profound. Quote, if someone could understand that coming forward would give so much relief as well as justify Kathy and Samantha's passing to some degree, there's nothing we wouldn't do or give to know what happened and to have answers. So, April 23rd, just a few days later, the trial begins for Brooks Houck's theft trial. Now, I looked everywhere for like a minute by minute write-up, and I couldn't find one, which was very disappointing, but I got a little bit of info about it. So the trial ended up being held in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which, in case you were wondering, is where the current trial is taking place as well. So it's not going to be his first time. Houck's lawyers asked for jurors to be sequestered during the entire theft trial, but a judge denied that request. If Brooks is found guilty, he could spend a maximum of 20 years in prison. Now, on April 24th, Michelle Lavorne took the witness stand and said she worked at Lowe's and checked Houck out on a day he allegedly stole shingles. I'm pretty sure he told him more shingles than was on the ticket, and the ticket wasn't seen, she said. She said Houck asked her to help him with this issue back in October of last year. Quote, he tried to contact me to help him get out of it, and I told him there was nothing I could do. I said, look, Brooks, if you did wrong, you did wrong. If you didn't, you didn't. So be it. I'm a little disappointed because that's like the only witness information I found out, but there's that. So then on April 25th, during closing arguments, Houck's defense attorney, Brian Butler, called his client a builder trying to clear his name and criticized the training and attentiveness of the staff at Lowe's, arguing that loss prevention employees didn't adequately investigate the alleged thefts before charges were filed. Prosecutor Joe Ballard acknowledged mistakes on behalf of Lowe's, but added that just because someone is letting you take shingles doesn't mean you have a right to do it. He said that despite Houck owning 129 properties and 11 houses, he felt the need to steal from Lowe's 4 times over 11 days. He compared Houck to celebrity parents recently caught up in the so-called Varsity Blues college bribery scandal, arguing that rich people steal too. Now, the defense blamed Lowe's, saying the hardware store had inattentive and ill-trained workers, pointing out that Houck never loaded the shingles in his own truck and routinely shopped at the store as a career contractor. Quote, we always felt like since there had been such publicity against Brooks in his hometown, that we needed to move somewhere. He was just another citizen, and we would get 12 members of the community to decide this case on the merits of this case, not rumors about other things, said Brian Butler, Houck's attorney. In less than 2 hours, a jury found Brooks Houck not guilty on charges of theft of 200 bundles of roofing shingles stolen from a Lowe's during 4 visits in 11 days. Now, we do have a news clip to play, but I'm going to read the rest of it real quick and then we'll play the news clip. So there's a quote from a juror that says, "It was his mistake and their mistake," meaning Lowe's, "but 80% theirs because the workers, every one of them, has only been there 1 or 2 months. And that one girl that came up said she lied so she wouldn't have to be a witness on the case," Peyton Gentry, a juror in the case, said. "Plus, we had a contractor on the jury with us, and he said when they get it, they load it and they take it to a site. They have other people work for them, so they may never look at it." Crystal Rogers' family was in the courtroom for all of this, heartbroken by Thursday's verdict. Quote, "It had guilty written all over it to me," said Sherry Ballard. "He just got away with something else again. I just can't believe it." You can have a trial for anything you do that's criminally wrong. But yeah, he decided to take it to trial. So we do have a quick little clip about it. Let's give that. Oh, I got to take one thing down, put another thing up. All right, let's give that a go.
The main suspect in the disappearance of Bardstown mom Crystal Rogers walks out of a courtroom after a 3-day trial.
WDRB's Stefan Johnson explains the latest charges and trial Brooks Houck was able to beat.
Brooks Houck has been the main suspect in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers, but he was on trial this week for theft. The case was moved to Bowling Green because of pretrial publicity, and after 3 days of testimony, he walked out of the courthouse a free man.
For me, the jury found the defendant not guilty.
Hi, Brooks, do you feel relieved? Will you say anything to us? Despite being cleared, Brooks Houck leaves the Warren County Justice Center without saying a word.
It had guilty written all over it to me. He just got out of something else again.
But the mother of Crystal Rogers has a lot to say. Sherry Ballard sat through 3 days of testimony.
I was praying everyone would see his true colors with this.
Houck was accused of stealing shingles from the Bardstown Lowe's store. The case was moved to Bowling Green because his name is synonymous with the disappearance of Rogers, the mother of his son.
We never believed that Brooks intended to steal anything from Lowe's, and obviously the jury found him not guilty.
Houck's attorney, Brian Butler, says this was simply a mistake or misunderstanding.
The allegation was that he had stolen that. Our contention was he had never stolen anything. If he got more than he was supposed to, it was a mistake, and fortunately the jury agreed with us.
One juror explains how and why they reached the verdict.
We just didn't have like a lot of evidence towards the case to prove that he knew what he was doing, that he was stealing.
Despite the verdict, Sherry Ballard says she'll continue demanding answers and justice.
Oh, I keep on. This is not going to stop me. I can promise you that.
Brooks Houck has never been charged in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. In Bowling Green, I'm Stefan Johnson, WDRB News.
So that's right. Brooks Houck found not guilty for the theft of shingles. Again, that is literally all I could find about that trial. So I can't say one way or another whether or not that seemed like an accurate verdict to have. It's also why I think all trials should be streamed for transparency so we all can see it for ourselves. Now we'll go into May 25th exactly, where another year passes since the death of Jason Ellis, and the family and community once again continues the somber tradition of driving the route Ellis took home that night he was murdered, and lining exit 34 of the Bluegrass Parkway with white paper bags with blue candles inside. And there are still no updates about his case. The things that they do in every year, the traditions that they have, I think are so thoughtful. Just want to say that. So we do have a news clip though for this update on Jason Ellis's murder.
Dated by time, a picture of Officer Jason Ellis still hangs in several windows here along the city's main street. A smiling face of a police officer, husband, and father, gunned down May 25th, 2013, along the Bluegrass Parkway.
They feel our pain. They really do. They feel our pain. And they want to know, too. They want to know. We all feel like this is a case that it needs to be closed.
With each passing year, Chris Phillips becomes more determined to find answers for her daughter, grandsons, and the son-in-law she adored.
One person is all it would take to blow this thing wide open. One person doing the right thing.
The reward for information leading to an arrest now sits at well over $250,000. The FBI recently announced they had pledged $50,000 to find Ellis's killer. Special Agent in charge Robert Brown says 3 agents are working the case full-time.
It has been 6 years, but one of the hallmarks of the FBI is we never give up. We didn't give up on Pan Am 103. We didn't give up on the Unabomber, and we're not going to give up on finding Jason Ellis's killers.
Bardstown Police Sergeant Tom Blair, Ellis's training officer, hasn't given up hope either, passing this wall, saying a silent prayer today will be the day.
For Amy, the boys, the people here at the department, because we need to find out who did it and why.
And Chris Phillips remains hopeful she will one day have answers.
You can't hide. You can't hide. We know they're still here. You can't hide.
In Bardstown, Lauren Adams, WLKY News.
I just love what they did at the police station for him. The whole hallway line, because as I said yesterday, he's the first Bardstown police officer to have been killed in the line of duty in their entire history. So I can only imagine the weight that it must put on that community. And welcome, Travis Brady. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt the news clip there, but I just want to say I'm not from your community, but everything your community does for all of these victims, it is just beautiful. And all of them seemed like beautiful, wholesome, and wonderful people. So I wish I would have had the pleasure. So we go on to August 21st. Now, officials believe an arsonist may be responsible for a fire that destroyed a home being built by Brooks Houck. Bardstown Fire Chief Billy Mattingly says the house consisted of a frame with no gas or electricity running to it, so it was likely set on fire. He says disgruntled employees who work for Houck may be to blame. Suspicious. So then in August 27th, former Chief Deputy Jody Gilliland takes over the Crystal Rogers case after Detective John Snow retired. I'm a little sad to hear he retired. Gilliland had been with the Nelson County Sheriff's Department for 14 years. Now, Sherry Ballard said, I hope he has the experience to do the job. I am hoping maybe he will see something different. I am hoping they will call in new people to interview. I know what happened to Crystal. There is no doubt, 0 doubt in my mind. And until I find my daughter, I won't stop pushing for answers. Then, wait a second. Did I skip something? I did. Oh my gosh, hold on. I did skip over something else that happened in July 4th. And you guys know that I've been following, we've been covering the sign stuff happening in Bardstown, just for a little bit of levity. I'm so sorry I went out of order. So let's pop back to July real quick, and then we'll get back to where we were. So time travel back to July 4th, 2019. Okay, we got a news clip for you guys. So let's do this. So July 4th, this is the day after the anniversary of Crystal Rogers' disappearance. Okay.
4 years since Bardstown mother Crystal Rogers went missing, and still no answers.
But now mysterious signs are plastered all over Nelson County. And as WDRB's Katrina Helmer reports, the signs don't hold back on who's to blame.
Signs like this are popping up all over Bardstown, pointing fingers directly at the Houck brothers. They grab your attention, and that's the point.
I love whoever made these signs.
They are very blunt.
Sherry Ballard is making it through another 4th of July without her daughter, Crystal Rogers. She disappeared 4 years ago.
Sorry, it's just been a rough week.
No one has ever been charged. Without any clear answers, Ballard vows to never let anyone forget Crystal. And when these signs popped up overnight, she says it's comforting.
Brooks Houck was named the #1 suspect in my daughter's disappearance, and it makes me feel good to think that people out there believe the same thing that I do.
We don't want it to die down. We don't want her to be forgotten.
This person wants to remain anonymous, but admits to being one of several people planting these signs in the early morning hours of July 4th. They put out 75 signs with specific phrases.
We chose Nick failed the polygraph because Nick did fail the polygraph.
Another sign, Brooks Houck is the only suspect in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers.
You know, you're still the only suspect, and we want to keep that out there.
And this one, ride the wave, it's worked out this far. It refers to a statement Brooks Houck made to WDRB.
I have been advised, to ride the wave and keep on keeping on, and that's what I've done, and it's worked out great this far.
We still think that he's very cold and disrespectful to the family, uncaring. He never really seemed to be at all bothered by her missing, and that's the mother of his son.
At the bottom of the sign, we're praying for sharks. Another clear, pointed message.
The overall goal is we still don't have answers. We still don't have justice. And we need to keep them in the public eye until we do.
They know in their heart what happened.
Reporting in Bardstown, Katrina Helmer, WDRB News.
I don't know who did those signs, but I want to be their best friend because those were genius and hilarious and not wrong. They were all true. Nick did fail the polygraph. Brooks is the only suspect at this time. That was his quote. And the sharks, I have the sharks game. Hilarious. Anyway, I am obsessed with all the signs stuff going on in Bardstown. Oh, Travis Brady says, I used to deliver flooring to Brooks Houck's job sites in 2015, 2016. Let me tell you, there were some shady characters on his job sites, if you know what I mean. I've been doing a lot of research in this, and it seems like there's a lot of shady people. There's a lot of great people in this community that I've learned, but there's also some shady ones that I have questions about myself, but we shall see with the trial lets loose. But thank you for sharing that with us, Travis. I do appreciate any, community members' insights that they have. All right, so now we're going to go back into the future since I messed up here to September 11th, 2019. It's more science stuff, you guys, but this is infuriating. So let's see. 51 seconds, by the way. Amos. The rest is all other stuff.
The streets in Bardstown and surrounding Nelson County. But last night, the family posted this video taken behind City Hall where several signs appear to be dumped.
All of these signs were removed and placed here.
But here's the thing. Officials say that is the spot where they store signs that were illegally placed in the public right-of-way. But they say no one employed by the city of Bardstown moved the signs. They sent a press release this morning saying, quote, the city of Bardstown's policy has never been to remove and dispose of the prayers for Crystal signs out of respect for the family. We also called Nelson County, and they too denied moving the signs, sending a separate press release which reads, quote, Nelson County Code Enforcement has been instructed to remove all signs from the county right-of-way with the exception of prayers for Crystal signs. Now, there is a code regulation stating no yard signs or temporary signs may be placed in public right-of-way, and if they are, they could be moved. But both city and county officials have said that they have policies in place to respect the Ballard family and not move the signs. So who did move them? Well, that's another Bardstown mystery. For Focus, I'm Shay McAllister.
Those damn signs causing a ruckus everywhere. Somebody's very unhappy about it. Who would have guessed? Again, I know that they're not placed in the right, spot, but like, what is people's problems? I just don't understand. I don't know who it was. I'm not going to accuse anyone, but I feel like I might know. Now, you guys, so we're into November 19th, 2019. And you know what time of year that is? November 19th marks 3 years after the death of Tommy Ballard, and the family still has no answers. Quote, "My church has been very, very good to me," Sherry Ballard said. "I'm blessed in that. It's the support that keeps her going and pushing forward on her journey for justice. I've never lost hope," Sherry said. "God has got me through this far, and he's going to give me my answers one day. I do firmly believe that." I hope so too, girl. I hope so too. The family has put up, again, a $20,000 reward for any information on Tommy's case. Oh boy. So that is all we're going to cover for part 3 today in our couch court case files, the Crystal Rogers case. I know each time it's so much information coming all over the place. But as you can see, a lot goes on in this small town of Bardstown, Kentucky. And there's a lot of attention that needs to be placed, not just for the Ballard family of Crystal and Tommy, but Jason Ellis and Kathy and Samantha Netherlands. So hopefully, if anybody has any information about any of these cases, you can call any of those numbers and help and put in your tips or spread the news on social media. Whatever you can do for any of these families, I think is more than they would probably be able to. Oh, it's just so sad. Everything about this is just so sad. I try not to think about it too much, but it's hard. I can't imagine what the people in the community must feel. So you guys, I will not be here tomorrow. There will not be couch court tomorrow. I know. I'm sorry, but I am going to be busy for the next 4 days with some family stuff. But I will be back on Tuesday, I believe at 10 a.m. That's right, an earlier start as opposed to our later afternoons. And thank you all for being patient, moving these to the afternoon time instead of our usually morning the last few days. But like I said, I wanted to make sure that these stories were done with justice. And I would rather push things back to have all the information than go live sooner and have holes. So now on Tuesday, we're going to pick up right in the year 2020. And you guys, a lot of stuff is going to happen real quick. All right. There's going to be some more searches. There's going to be some more agencies. And finally, there's going to be some arrests. So that is what we will be talking about on Tuesday for part 4 of our couch court case files. Now tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, the lovely Terry True Crime and I will be live here on True Crime and Wine Times channel discussing the case of Lonnie Concantes. It takes place on a cruise ship, so wear your cruise gear. It's going to be a good time. Hope y'all can make it. If this is your first time watching us, please like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you never miss when we go live or drop an episode. We have a ton of coverage in all different shows on this channel, so there will be a little something for everyone. Now, with that, I must go prepare for our show in a couple of hours. So I'm going to go ahead and head out for today. But I want to thank you all so much for being here. Please, hashtag Team Crystal, help get answers, share whatever you need to on social media. And until next time, go forth and be amazing. Bye, everybody.